Sometimes locations in games are all you need, and that scary mood is set. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanx, the 10 creepiest places in 2019 video games. Starting off with number 10, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice's Mibu Village. From Software, maybe the kings of creepy locations. I'm talking about Blighttown, I'm talking about the gutter, and thankfully there's really nothing as terrible as those places in Sekiro. That is not to say the game doesn't have its creepy moments though, they just tend to come in more manageable doses. Probably the most classically creepy place in the game is Mibu Village, a distant little hamlet bathed in constant darkness. It's dilapidated and haunted. You just imagine wolves howling and spooky moaning the instant you roll up on this place. Further up from the village is this weird temple with a babbling, insane NPC. And further on, you'll have to deal with the only ghost bosses in the games, Orin of the Water and the Corrupted Monk. And even though you're about as badass as a ninja can get, it is still hard not to get a little bit spooked out as you explore this place. Moving on to number 9 is Borderlands 3, the Jacob Estate, a classically creepy mansion that you'll need to infiltrate about halfway through the game. This dilapidated old manor doesn't really have any spooks or frights in it, it's just more Children of the Vault blasting. But the place has such a cool and unique atmosphere that I think it deserves mention on this list. Visually, it looks incredible. It's got tons of little cool details all over the place, the entrance hall, the great library, even a theater. Spend some time in one of these places and look around. They really did the work. And that's not even counting the outside, which has this really cool looking overgrown greenhouse. You actually spend a lot of time at the Jacobs Estate, so thankfully it is pretty darn good and creepy. Moving on to number 8, the Ion Fury level, Inhospitable Hospitality. A throwback to classic arcadey shooters like Duke Nukem, you wouldn't think that Ion Fury would have anything all that creepy in it, but this level is actually pretty spooky. It's set in an abandoned hospital, pretty far away from the usual Techno City interiors you grow used to in this game, this level being all decaying tile, broken windows, and flashing lights. It's probably the most atmospheric stage and the one that feels most like a real place. There's the wards, a loading dock, a morgue, basically everything you'd expect in a creepy hospital situation. There's nothing particularly scary about the enemies you fight here, but the location itself is so cool and creepy that it kind of more than makes up for it. Also, especially considering that Ion Fury is a fairly retro, low detail game. I mean, it's obviously certainly better looking than the 90s games it's harkening back to, but what they're able to accomplish in this art style, especially in this level, is very impressive. Moving on to number 7, The Surge 2's Underground. Like a lot of Dark Souls-inspired games, this has got some pretty dark and ominous locations, but probably the creepiest is the Underground, the place you find yourself in after the climactic battle with this general guy and his pet Metal Gear. It's dark, is filled with trash and debris from the destruction on the surface, and is filled to the brim with these possessed zombies and nano monsters. What they are doesn't really matter, it's a lot. It's tough, it's dangerous, and along with all the other creatures down here, there's these horrible nano monster human hybrids that, they are creepy crawly. I don't know how else to describe them, but they will make you want to get out of there fast. Moving on to number 6, The Dead City, which is a city blanketed in intense radiation, so, as you might be able to guess, it's swarming with nasty monsters like the Nozalis and the blind ones from the Moscow metro you started out in. Cool beans, right? Well, it actually gets a lot more creepy. That happens when you descend into the flooded tunnels, which are swarming with these absolutely disgusting worm things. I understand that worm things is not the most precise of terms, but what else are you going to call these nasty ass things? It doesn't help that they cover every surface in this nasty ooze and make it feel like you're in a giant monster's intestine. But I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it's probably the creepiest and most disgusting part of Metro Exodus. But I would also like to remark that it's really well done and wouldn't be creepy if it wasn't. Moving on to number 5, it's Death Stranding, specifically Episode 7, Clifford, the part where you're on battlefield kind of flashback. Like, there's a couple of scenes in this part of the game, and I won't spoil how you get here, why you get here, or really what's happening at all. Partly because it's incredibly complicated, and partly because I don't really want to spoil the game. I think that you should play Death Stranding, it's a great game. But I can tell you exactly how creepy it is. Undead soldiers seem to be fighting an endless war around you. There's weird tanks and skeletons and octopus tentacles that are rolling around in the water, the walls, and everything seems to be coated with the nasty black gunk that you will have become pretty familiar with if you've been playing Death Stranding. If you think Metal Gear Survive is scary, ooh, you are in for it in Death Stranding. The place itself is creepy enough, but you're also being hunted by, well, Mads Mikkelsen, who has played Hannibal really well before. So there's a lot of nasty, weird stuff going on here, but the worst part? Check out this doll. Yep, that's creepy as hell. That's enough. That's enough. Let's move on. At number 4 is Control, the Active Threshold. Control is a weird game all around, and not really a whole lot of it is terribly creepy, if that makes sense. I mean, there's elements of creepiness to it, but generally the oldest house clocks as weird, but not exactly scary. There is one section in the game that is pretty darn creepy though, and it's completely optional. You fall down this incredibly long elevator shaft and you find yourself in this area that's covered in what I have to describe as disgusting mold. No other area in the game is even remotely like this. It's totally unique, and even features these unique mold enemies that are significantly higher in level than the other stuff you fight in the research sector, and to top it all off, there's an optional boss at the center of this mess called Mold 1, which is also the hardest boss in the game. Like I said, pretty much like the rest of the game, this place is weird. It's also kind of gross. Nobody really likes mold, but it's really creepy. Number 3, The Outer Wilds. You'd think a game about exploring the solar system as a cute little alien in a treehouse-looking spaceship wouldn't have anything creepy in it, but ho, you would be wrong. The Dark Bramble, the 5th planet on the little solar system, is actually one of the most foreboding locations in any game, let alone ones that came out this year. What makes it so bad? Well, it's a foggy maze that forces you to give up the safety of your ship to explore its seemingly endless interior by your own fragile little self. And of course, it really wouldn't be that bad if it was just a maze with some fog in it. Who really cares? I mean, sure, it's disorienting, but it's ultimately just a maze, right? No, it's not just a maze. There's also these things to watch out for. The anglerfish. Make one wrong move, go down a wrong direction, you are angler food, and it never stops being nerve-wracking. It doesn't help that this place is absolutely essential to solving the main mystery of the game, so you end up spending a lot of time here, and you end up thinking really hard, getting really deep into your own thoughts, and oop, anglerfish! It never stops spooking me out. Never. Moving on to number 2, Resident Evil 2's remake and its police station, which is an absolute classic, creepy location, made so much better by a stellar remake. The police station / art gallery, made that way by the police chief for dumb reasons that don't really make any sense, is incredibly atmospheric. Alternating between areas of almost total darkness, lit only by the crack of lighting in your flashlight, and lit up areas of impressive detail that are also, of course, swarming with zombies. The first time through, you'll appreciate it for the architecture and the little details. The second time through, when you're being chased by Mr. X, that's when you really get to know the place. You have to find alternate routes and avoid your stalker and really just learn how much thought the developers put into making this place both functional as a video game area, but also detailed and lived in like it was an actual place. And finally at number 1, Anodyne 2's Return to Dust Everything. Okay, you probably never heard of this one, but take my word for it, it's creepy. It's weird too, because it's not creepy in the same way that everything else is. I don't really think it's supposed to be a horror game, but come on, look at some of this stuff. Look at this worm thing. Look at this guy, he doesn't have any skin. Why are they like this? Why is this happening? What is happening? Okay, I can kind of explain it. It's supposed to be a kind of PlayStation 1 throwback, which really, PlayStation 1 games have always seemed really murky and dark by default, so it kind of adds to the creepiness, and your objective is to collect dust for this thing? I don't know, I got nothing. Just play this game, it feels like being in a waking nightmare. That's about all I can say about it. It's one of the creepiest games I've ever played, and I don't think it's even supposed to be scary. If anything, that makes it more scary. So that's all for today. What are some creepy places you saw in 2019's video games? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and if you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.